What if the greatest challenge presented by the UAP phenomena is not technological, not political, scientific, but what if it's theological? Because right now I'm watching a growing number of Christians immediately label anything related to UAPs and non-human intelligence or extraterrestrial possibilities as demonic. And honestly, I think that reaction deserves deeper examination. As someone conducting doctoral research in this phenomena, I believe this conversation requires far more humility, nuance, and intellectual honesty than what we're seeing right now online. But not because faith is weak, but because fear has historically shaped religious reactions to the unknown. And humanity has been here before. For centuries, human beings explained mysterious phenomena using language and frameworks that were available to them. So, thunder became divine anger, mental illness became possession, astronomical events became omens. And throughout history, religious institutions often reacted defensively when reality appeared larger than their existing worldview. And the church resisted heliocentrism. The church resisted aspects of psychology. The church struggled through scientific revolutions that challenged humanity's understanding of its place in creation. So I think we need to ask ourselves an uncomfortable question. Are we potentially watching that pattern happen again? Now, before anyone misunderstands me, let me be clear. I'm not claiming that UAPs are extraterrestrials. I'm not claiming biblical encounters were alien visitations. I'm not dismissing the reality of spiritual deception within the Christian worldview. But what I am saying is something much simpler. Many Christians are speaking with extraordinary certainty about subjects that remain deeply unresolved, both scientifically, philosophically, psychologically, and theologically. And certainty is not the same thing as discernment. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects of this entire conversation is how quickly people collapse the unknown into the demonic. And my question is why? Because certainty, or I should say uncertainty, is uncomfortable. Human beings naturally seek frameworks that restore psychological certainty. And for many believers, the possibility of non-human intelligence introduces questions that feel deeply destabilizing. Questions like, what would this mean for humanity's uniqueness? How would other intelligent beings also be part of creation? How would theology adapt over time? Would the idea of Christian salvation, the history, would that apply universally? Could Christianity survive contact with non-human civilization? And these are enormous questions for people. But discomfort alone is not evidence of evil. And I think that distinction really matters. Now, something else I've been thinking about a great deal during my research is the issue of language and perception. The writers of Scripture were ancient people attempting to describe extraordinary experiences using ancient concepts. Think about the prophetic visions throughout the Bible. Ezekiel describing radiant beings and wheels within wheels moving through the sky. Elijah ascending in a chariot of fire. Angelic encounters filled with overwhelming light, fear, and altered consciousness. Again, I'm not arguing that these were UFO encounters, but I do think that modern readers often underestimate how limited ancient human language was when describing experiences that were beyond ordinary understanding. Ancient people had no framework for advanced aerospace concepts, multidimensional theories, non-human intelligence, modern physics, or altered states of consciousness as we understand them today. So when we read ancient texts, we've got to remember human beings interpret extraordinary experiences through the conceptual frameworks available to them. And honestly, if modern humans encountered something truly beyond our understanding today, would we necessarily describe it accurately either? Or would we reach for symbols, metaphors, assumptions, and existing belief systems. I think this is where the conversation becomes genuinely important because the UAP discussion is forcing humanity to confront the limits of our own frameworks, not just scientifically, psychologically, or spiritually, or philosophically, but also theologically. And for many Christians, the real fear may not actually be aliens per se. The deeper fear may be the destabilization of certainty itself. Because once you begin entertaining the possibility that reality is larger and stranger and more complex than you previously assumed, it creates a tension inside these rigid systems of thought. But personally, I don't believe Christianity should fear deeper discovery. So if you believe that God is this truly sovereign being over creation, then truth within creation should not threaten faith. I mean, a universe creating billions of galaxies always stretches beyond human comprehension, anything beyond even what ancient civilizations could have imagined. So, why do we assume humanity must automatically be the only form of intelligence that this God could create? That assumption often says more about human ego than theology. And perhaps this is where humility becomes essential. Because look, throughout history, humanity repeatedly mistook limited understanding for complete understanding. Every generation believed it had finally reached the boundaries of knowledge, and every generation eventually discovered that those boundaries were far larger than expected. So maybe we're approaching another one of those moments now. Not necessarily because disclosure is imminent, not because aliens are landing tomorrow, but because humanity is once again confronting the terrifying possibility that reality may exceed our existing frameworks. And historically, human beings do not respond calmly when foundational assumptions begin to shake. So, no, I don't think Christians should abandon discernment, but I also don't think fear based certainty serves the conversation well either. We need more humility, more scholarship, more intellectual honesty, and perhaps more importantly, a willingness to admit that there's still many things that we don't understand. Because maybe the real challenge presented by the UAP phenomena isn't technological at all. Maybe the challenge is existential. Maybe humanity is being forced to confront just how small our understanding of reality may actually be.